Hello guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Please do well to subscribe to this channel so that you can have updates to the latest lessons. Okay, today we're looking at data types, for loop, functions, and libraries. So we'll be starting with data types. What's the data type? Data type is like the format in which what you're imputing into your program or the result you're taking out of your program will look like. So we have the integer data type, and this is used to declare what you want to impute or your results as whole numbers. Then we have the float data type. The float data type is used to declare your input or your result as decimal. Then we have the string data type that is used to display your input or your result just the way it is. To just keep the format the way you put it in the quote. So you can use either single quote or double quote to declare whatever you have as a string. We also have other data types such as dates and time and so on. Okay, so let's see an example of how this works for the data types. Let's take out this comment. So we can see integer. This word integer is in single quotes, so that makes it a string. So when you run this print statement, it will just come out like that as integer. The same thing with this word decimal. You can see it in a single quote. I told you can use single or double quotes. Let's use double quotes for this, so you can know it's the same thing. I'm saving my work. Always remember to save your work so that you will not lose it by touching something else. Okay, so these are strings. These two are strings. Now we are declaring this number to be an integer. You can see 5.78. That is already in decimal. We're saying let it become an integer. So we use the word int. And for this one, this is already a whole number, 7, and we are declaring it to be a decimal. So let's run the code to see how it goes. So you can see integer. You can see the word integer came out as integer and the word decimal came out as decimal. You can see the integer made it 5. This is not rounding up. We're not rounding up the number. I just put it as 5. And why the float put it as decimal. Let me run it again so you can see. So you can see 5. And why the 7 became 7.0. Declaring it as decimal. Okay. Now the next thing we are looking at is for loop. You'll be using this very well also in data analysis because you are going to be looping through a table. Don't forget, our data are in table format. Whether it's in CSV file, it's going to be put in a data table format for you to analyze. If you were to use Excel, you were going to import it into Excel and it will become in a table format. And then you do your analysis based on table formats. So now we have the for loop. Now in for loop, you can use the word range. So you can say in range. You don't forget we have used the word range before in the last class. So we can use range. So let's see an example of range being used in the for loop. Let's comment out this one. Open this one. Okay. So look at range here. It said n is equal to 10. Factorial equals to 1. Now this code is finding factorial. N factorial. You understand the factorial. Factorial is a mathematical operation. So we say for I in range. Don't forget range is from, now it's telling you this range starts from number 1. You start counting from number 1, comma, and stop at n plus 1. What is n? Our n is 10. So 10 plus 1 is what? 11. So it will start counting from 1 to 11. That is how this factorial is going to work. So this is the function. This is the operation now that carry out the factorial. You can write it as factorial times equal to I, or factorial equal to factorial times I. Take note, hash is to comment out this line because this line is the same as this line of code. So it's calculating factorial. That is normal mathematical operation to find factorial. So the I, what is I? Look at it, for I in range. So this I will start with number 1. So it will say factorial is equal to, what is factorial first? Factorial is 1, is it not so? That's declared factorial as 1. So it will put 1 here, times, this asterisk means times I. What is I? I starts from 1. So it will put 1. So it will say 1 times 1 and put it inside this variable factorial. Then it will go back again to this for loop and take I as 2 and come and put it here. It will now say factorial. Don't forget, factorial is now 1. Take note. When we started, for I, it took 1 and came and put 1, put 1, which is this 1 for this factorial, times the 1 here. And 1 times 1 is 1. So the new value for factorial is 1. So you will not be looking at this one again now. Now this is the new value of factorial, which is now 1. So the new value of factorial is 1. So what happens is that this one now becomes empty. And this one now takes that value of 1, that new one, times I now equal to 2. So that will be 1 times 2. You know, this is how you calculate factorial. So 1 times 2 now becomes 2. So the new value of factorial now is now 2. So it will now go back again. For I will now be 3. It will now come back. Don't forget, the new value of factorial is 2. It will now be 2 times the new value of I, which is 3. So 2 times 3 is what? 6. And that is how it will loop through until it stops at number 10. Take note, range starts from the first value, which is this, and stops at the last value. The last value is, for this one, it says n plus 1, which is 11. Take note, it will not include 11, but it will stop at 11. That is, it will take the value 10. So we'll find I as 10 and we'll come and put it here and get the final value. So let's run the code and see our result. You can even do it on your calculator and you will confirm the result. So it says factorial of 10 is, you can see the number here. So that is it. So you can also run it on your calculator to confirm. So take note, our print statement, once you see something in quotes, once you see it in quotes, first quote and the other quotes, you know it's to print it that way. And I said this modulus, that this percentage sign D. For this D, it stands for integer. If you put S, it is string. And if you put F here, it is float. So it's saying factorial of n. So it's saying factorial of n. That n, don't forget what n is. N is 10 here, which is the n, should be an integer. Is integer, is factorial. Don't forget, the factorial is the final answer you're going to get after doing all the multiplication, going through the for loop. So that final answer, which is that answer we got when we ran the code, this is it here. So factorial of this formatting and this formatting, we see 2 formatting here in the quote. So it will take in 2 values. You can see this formatting here is saying this formatting is for this and this. So anywhere it sees this, it will not take in this D and this D. So it has to be 2 values. So this D is for this to format the first value, and this second D is to format the second value. And that is how we got 2 integer there. That is factorial of 10, which is an integer, is 3628800. So that is for loop using the range. So we can also use iter rows to loop through a for loop. You can use it with a for loop, and we can also use iter tuples in a for loop. Now, these two, iter rows and iter tuples, are majorly used when you are dealing with a data frame. And what is a data frame? A data frame is what we use to put things in table formats. Let's go back to our sample. So look at it here. You can see pd dot data frame. That was what put this our dictionary in our last lesson. It put this our dictionary in table format. So that's what this one did. Let's comment out this so that you can see. Okay, let's open this. So this data frame is what puts anything in the table format, and PD is the function that we can find data frame function in PD library. Sorry, PD library. Take note, PD is pandas. Import pandas as PD. So anywhere you see PD is called pandas, and that is a library which is used to convert things to a data frame. A data frame is the same thing as just table. So that is what happened here. So we use iter rows. Don't forget, we're talking about for loop here. We use iter rows and iter tuples with data frame. They are all for looping through data frames faster than just using ordinary for loop. Now, it is recommended that you use iter tuples when looping through data frame. That is the best. Why? Because it's faster. It's faster. So it saves resources in which you save your time, energy used to run the code. Because when you're dealing with large data, millions of records, you understand the difference. When you're dealing with small data set, you can use anyone, but it's better you get accustomed to using iter tuples. So now let's see a code where I used iter tuples. Non-English app. In our first lesson on this channel, we talked about this code a little. So you can see here for, look at it, for row in app name. Here we used ordinary for loop. We didn't use iter tuple because we are not dealing with the table itself, just a column in the table. So we use for row in app name. So we check for what we want to check. But here, when we came here, we say for app in df dot iter tuples. df is the data frame, is the table dot iter tuple. So this is how you use iter tuples with for loop. I don't want to explain the code so much. In subsequent lessons, we'll explain this code more. Our first lesson on this channel was about a project which I will take my time to explain it one by one, what each code or what each function did line by line using phone to run each code. So for now, let's just know that you can use iter tuples with for loop. Then we have the next thing we're looking at now is function, user defined functions. Don't forget, I've been talking about function. Like in this sample, data frame is a function in PD library, that is pandas library, is a function. And what does the function do? It puts your items or your values or whatever you input, it puts it in table format. So that's what this function do, data frame, puts things in table format. So now you, on your own, you can create your own functions too and put them in libraries. So anytime you want to create a function, you start with the word def, def, def. So let's look at an example of, now you can see in this code, I declared this as def. Def is English. What happened here is we checked if a character, a name, the name of an app is English or not. So that was what this code did. And we can see another function I declared again, non-English. So this one went through the whole table, df, data frame, and checked to eliminate non-English apps. So that's how you use function. So what is the advantage of function? It makes your code easy to read. So we can see, oh, we know now this is English. Now what it's doing is just to check whether the characters in the name are English characters. Why this def non-English is the code that actually carried out the function of eliminating the apps that are non-English. Now, what is another advantage of using functions? it makes it easy to edit your code. So when you are doing a project, as I will explain in subsequent video, the first video on this channel about the Apple Mobile Store app, I will break it down so you will see how effective using function is and how it makes it easy to edit your code and understand your code. It makes it easy for you to reuse your code, and it makes it easy to share the code. So somebody can give somebody, yeah, take, write this code. It's English. You give another person, write the code, non-English, and you can bring all of them together and run it on one platform. So that is the advantage of function. So when you're dealing with large projects, you really need to put them in function rather than just writing all of them on one page like this. It's going to be so long, and to edit it is going to be very stressful because you have to start scrolling. You will be so confused. So that is where it is. And finally, for this class, we'll be looking at importing libraries. So as we know, we have various libraries. We have maths library. In maths library, you have addition, subtraction. We have statistical library. There you can do mean, average, standard deviation, and so on. We have so many libraries in Python. We have libraries for artificial intelligence. We have libraries for so many things. So we have libraries like the pandas library, that we've talked about. So anytime you want to import a library, you use the word import. Import, very important. So we can see we use the word import here because we wanted to import the pandas library, which we imported as PD. So instead of us using the whole word pandas, we are now using the word PD when we're running our code here. So we use PD dot data frame here. So we imported the pandas library, which in that pandas library, we have data frame. We have so many other functions in the pandas library. We have sort to sort your data. We have null to remove null. We have drop duplicates. All this will be explained in subsequent lessons or tutorials. So we've seen in our lesson of today, we saw the different data types. We looked at for loop. We used that user defined function. We looked at importing libraries. That's what we learned today. And our previous videos, we looked at tuples, dictionaries, lists. These are all containers in Python. Then we also looked at the first video, which was the part one. We looked at how to impute value and comments. Please subscribe to this channel so that you can get more updates on how to use Python for data analysis on your phone. You can also use SQL on your phone and so many other things. You can do complex data analysis on your Android phone. So please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.